Hey y'all, I'm back again with another video. Um, if this is your first time tuning in, welcome to my channel. And if you've been listening thus far, I really appreciate you taking the time to do that. Okay, I appreciate you. So I was reading, I've been doing a lot of reading lately, and God has just been so good. And but I was reading Colossians 3, and I came across verse 23, and it says, and it really hit me, but it says, work willingly at whatever you do as though you were working for the Lord rather than for people. Work willingly at whatever you do as though you were working for the Lord and not for people. And I thought about that. I'm like, that takes a lot of dedication. It takes commitment, because we have to remember who we're doing this for. We have to remember why we're doing what we're doing, okay? And sometimes if we're not careful, you can get caught up in the opinions of other people. People will try to tell you what they think you should be doing and why. And you have to just stop yourself and ask yourself. And this is where you have to really examine yourself, and you have to examine your heart. Why are you doing what you're doing? Ask yourself that question. Why are you doing what you're doing, no matter what that is? Your profession, your volunteering, the service that you do, that you give to others. Why are you serving? Why are you working? Why are you doing what you're doing? Are you doing it to gain the approval of other people? Or are you doing it for God? It's like Galatians 1:10. Am I seeking the approval of man, or am I seeking God's approval? Because if I'm seeking man's approval, then I am not a Christ follower. Okay? Because one thing I'm learning is that people will never be satisfied. Okay? Because they will always want more. More for you to do, more for you to say, more for you, just more. It's never an end. There's always going to be a continuation. And I think about people who, they have a lot of things, they have possessions, but it's still not enough, right? They still want more. They already have more than what most people have, but they still want more. It's never satisfying, okay? So the flesh will always lust after more power, more prestige, more money, more, whatever that is, okay, in the flesh. But so we have to remember to kind of take a step back and to reflect on why it is we're doing what we're doing. Why are we shooting for those goals? Why are we chasing those dreams? Why are we desiring what we desire? But we have to be honest with ourselves about ourselves when we ask those type of questions. So, are you doing what you're doing to glorify God? Are you doing what you're doing to work for God, to build up his kingdom? Or are you doing it for self-gain, for self-pleasure, for selfish reasons? Are you doing it to people please? Are you doing it to please other people in the hopes that they will accept you, in the hopes that they will like you, that they will love you? I think about Leah and Rachel, which I did mention in the previous video. Leah and Rachel. Rachel was barren for a long time. She could not have children. But then you have Leah, who could have a child at the drop of a dime, okay? She had basically 10 of those children. Well, I can't say that, because Jacob had children with some of his handmaidens too. Bilhah and one other person. But anyways, overall, I believe he had the most children with Leah. And Jacob didn't love Leah. Jacob loved Rachel. But Rachel knew that she couldn't bear him children, and Leah knew that she could have children. And I believe that there was something in Leah that said, if I continue to have this man's children, that maybe, just maybe, he would love me. And I just feel bad for Leah because she was tricked by her father. Her father was not an honest man. He tricked Jacob into marrying her first instead of marrying Rachel, because he really wanted Rachel. And Laban, their father, said, you need to work for Rachel for 7 years. And Jacob did that. And still Laban was not honest with him. Laban tricked him into marrying Leah first because Leah was the oldest. And then by their custom, the oldest was supposed to be married off first. But Jacob did not want Leah. So she's coming into this marriage unwanted, unloved, but she's able to have children. So he comes, they have children, many of them. And then 7 years after that, Laban does allow him to marry Rachel, and Rachel is having trouble having children. So, but she's the loved one. She's loved by Jacob. Okay. But I'm just thinking about Leah. Like, she's probably thinking, if I can keep on having his children, then just maybe he will love me. Maybe he will accept me. Finally, And so the thing is, her having all those children didn't make Jacob love her anymore at all. Nothing changed. And so that's why I asked, why are you doing what you're doing? Are you doing it to gain someone's approval? Are you doing it to be accepted? Because that's what Leah was doing, I believe. I could be wrong. I'm not a Bible scholar, but, that's what I feel. And we can be like that, though. We can do things for people because we want them to accept us. We want to fit in. We want to belong. And we sometimes can come out of character and do things that are outside of our character to make other people happy, to make other people accept us. But that's not what God wants us to do, because when we get to that point where we're coming out of character, then we're not being authentically ourselves. We're not being authentic with ourselves at all, and we're not being authentic with God. The thing is, God already knows us. He knows what's in our heart anyways. So we must remember to work willingly at whatever we do for God and not for other people. We will never be satisfied. People will never be satisfied with what we do. They will always come with a suggestion here and there, or ways to tweak this, or here's something that you can do better. Maybe you should consider this, but what did God tell you to do? What does God want you to do? Okay. That's where you need to stop and ask yourself, where am I supposed to be right now in the Lord? If he's telling you to do something a certain way, then you need to do it that way, and not allow any outside influences come in to alter the plan of God for your life. It's so easy to get distracted and caught up in other people's lives and other people's opinions, especially if there are people that you hold to a high esteem, people that you respect, that you admire. Even still, you have to buckle down and remember what the Lord said. And if they offer something to you or offer advice to you that doesn't line up with the word, and if it doesn't line up with what the Lord had already showed you, then you have to continue to move forward and do what God told you to do. Okay? You have to answer to God, not them. Okay? So I always tell the Lord that I don't want your permissive will, meaning that I took matters into my own hands and I have this certain result, but it really wasn't the result that God wanted for me in the beginning. I want God's divine will, what he had already planned for me from the beginning. I want that in my life. And I don't want to make a move stepping outside of God's will. I don't want to do that. And so let's just take heed and know that if God called us to do something, he's already equipped us to be able to do that. He's empowered us. And now it's time to be released. That was the theme. It's been the theme of our church. Our theme of the year was equipped, empowered, and released. And it's still in me. I've still been thinking about it, and I'm very grateful for it because God has been doing some things in my life personally and changing things around and just bringing me into a new season. And even though it's something I've never done before, it's a new path. I've never been this way before. And so when that comes, when you have something new that you're treading on, it comes with its own challenges, but through it all, whatever I do, I want the Lord to get the glory out of it. And I want to make sure that it's lining up with his word. So, but yes, I just want to encourage you to work willingly at whatever you do as if you're working for the Lord. You're doing it for God. You're doing it to please him. And he will reward you for your obedience when you do what he called you to do, when you put your heart into it, okay? And you're doing it for the right reasons, God honors that. Okay? And he's very well pleased with you when you do what he tells you to do, okay? But, don't let people stop you, okay? Because they will try. The enemy doesn't like when you are on a good path and you're trying to follow God. The enemy doesn't like that, so he will send people, he will send things to come in to try to distract you. Okay, it's just a part of life, in this world we're going to have some trouble, but take heart because he's already overcome the world. Talking about Jesus on his death on the cross. Okay, he rose again on the third day. Okay, and so just be encouraged. Keep following the Lord, and do it for him. Do it for him and not for anybody else. Okay, keep going. Stay the course. Keep believing. Keep trusting. Keep being hopeful, and be blessed. Okay, take care.